Good morning. This video was banned globally before it was even put out. That is me showing that I'm going to describe the shell companies that defraud our local councils and defraud our national governments. Every country on the globe is now in sovereign debt. They shut me down because I was playing at the time Lady Gaga's Paparazzi. Okay, I'm going to remake the videos in smaller chunks so that I can get all of the culprits and all of their names and all of their director IDs into the descriptors for the videos. I made the mistake of making a 1 hour long video yesterday, and this is now taking us into the music that was banned featuring Madonna, The Power of Goodbye, and I've got the soundtrack totally switched off now, yeah? What is in that movie that they're so ashamed of is the appearance of a body double for George W. Bush on the beach. Remember that the banks were crashed and the reset occurred in America when George W. Bush was the genocidal boss, when Tony Blair was the genocidal boss in Britain. Yeah, and in those days it was only £3,000 for an honours degree per year. Yeah, and all of it now has gone spiralling upwards so that all of the world's kids are in a massive debt pool. Okay, and I'm explaining that there is the unprecipitated letters from my wife's divorce solicitor. They know now, because we had a massive lightning storm last night right over the part of town where the corrupted people in this video live. Yeah, that's Councillor Hutton, former head of the Scottish Borders Council, the boss and employer for Miss Patricia Tom, the Canadian, who's got loads of dubious director IDs, runs care homes with people called Dr. Moody, who retired in his late 40s and is the chosen speaker for the Yorkshire man who's now the provost of this tiny town of Kelso. And there's Madonna pretending that she's playing an innocent role in the global chess game. Yeah, I dare not turn on the soundtrack until you start seeing the corporate documents that I was about to expose. And when I do, because this is not YouTube, yeah, YouTube censored it entirely. So there she is singing about the power of goodbye. That's goodbye to your jobs, goodbye to your cash, and all of it is tucked into the world's elite's pockets, which is why my video was sanctioned and taken down. Okay, are you getting the picture? And so Madonna is having a laugh in this movie with a body double for George W. Bush on the beach about the sandals concept in the global quest to find and to fleece the world. That's the golden fleece in the Aegean region, and the Odyssey that Jason was sent on. George W. Bush is portrayed as the hero for the world, trying to save it by brutalizing the Holy Lands again and again and again so that they can demonize Islam and take the world to war in 2004, which Tony Blair and he did against democracy's will. Can you see why the video was banned? For copyright infringement. Last night I uploaded the whole of this video and I played it to the whole of the world with no implications. Yeah, the video and the music is the only rationale for them being able to crash my 1 hour effort on exposing the massive frauds of the Johnson Press empire led by Ashley Highfield, and all of his director details are given later on in the movie. Yeah, and all of the job losses that he has created since 2011 are graphically portrayed. Johnson Press have newspapers all over Britain. Yeah, all of them ultimately are under the slavery team that is run in those days by George W. Bush, but is still run by Rupert Murdoch, Rebecca Brooks and the Chipping Norton cabal in Britain. There is a total suppression of freedom all over the globe, and everybody's democratic funding has been taken into private hands, which is why I'm so ashamed about Madonna. But this will be her pop group music scene. The woman who tripped on the stairs in the Visit to the Brits celebration was not Madonna. She's fit and lissom. That was a fat little plump body double, and I fear that Madonna may have been taken out for her capacity to inspire all of our fan base all over the world. But I do not like to speculate, as you know, which is why I'm going to show you that when we start talking about corporate details and the defrauding of the Borders Council by its own leadership team, which is Alistair Hutton, who was the boss for Miss Patricia Tom, who is now my wife's divorce solicitor. She comes from Canada. They're pretending that my divorce was actually separated. My household was separated in 2011, same month as I paid off my mortgage, which was mine before I met my wife in Hemel Hempstead. Yeah, and Hemel Hempstead is part of the crime scene, because in the George Bush story and in the story about world history and war crimes, yeah, the people that run Born Leisure and manipulate the ordinary working man, that was all over yesterday's video and is explained in the lightning storms that video, because last night when I went to bed at 2 o'clock in the morning, the heavens literally opened on all of the culprits that were named in the video. That is Councillor Alistair Hutton, Deirdre Hutton, his former wife, Queen of the Quangos, who live right next door to the corrupted former police trainee, Dr. Fingland, I think his first name is Ian. Yeah, all of them will now be explicitly named as fraudsters. Yeah, he runs the NHS here. He's tried to have me sectioned, which is why he trained as a policeman. When I exposed the massive healthcare frauds that dismember everybody's health in the elderly sector, so the doctors all across Britain can get 40% of their salary. That's called polypharmacy. Look it up on my website. You will not find Dr. Fingland named, because I'm decent enough to keep his ID a secret until they start persecuting me again. Okay, this is running really slowly, which is why we cannot get through Madonna's singing input to it. We do not see the images at all of the chessboard that I wanted to portray in this, because the whole of the geopolitical manipulation of the world is like a game for George W. Bush, Tony Blair and the moneylenders that fund them as political puppets to dismember every government and every democracy across our world. And the EU has a very prominent role in the lightning storms video, because the local that is the Lib Dem, yet that I've kept partially a secret, yeah, his name is Ewan, like the man who crashed the Scottish banks, Ewan Brown, and within days he gets his knighthood. The whole thing is a stitch up. And if I try and move the slider to take you into the corporate details that got the video banned globally, there's Madonna showing her assets. All of Britain's assets are being asset stripped by its council leaders, its politicians and the corrupted banks. Yeah, also in the lightning video that I made last night, because Winston Churchill, right down at the bottom of the Tweed Valley, owns the castle that is at I forget what it's, near Eyemouth. Yeah, and Eyemouth is, so it's called, and then it went into the ownership of the RBS. Okay, I'm going to take the camera a little bit further back, because I don't want this hum from all my IT. That means we cannot see all of the images though. And this is going ever so slowly. They're showing you only the pictures of Madonna. If I try and accelerate it into the corporate details that are so horrendous, it will shut down and it will refuse to play. Yeah, and I think I'm going to stop there now, because that is the guilt which I was burdened with for trying to expose Hutton, head of the council for decades, yeah, head of the Las Vegas military tattoo, medals on his chest, as he presents the Christian sermon on Remembrance Sunday, and they bring a soldier in, yeah, that's part of the family that runs the care home scandals, yeah, the Currys, and they're in the Speculative Society of Edinburgh, that is the deviant sector that has asset stripped everything from the Parliament building in Holyrood to the local schools and the building of those schools using PPP scams, and the Belfinger bullshit company that also defrauded Scotland in the trams project in Edinburgh. All three of the border schools was built by them with a massive commitment to deliver the services for 30 to 40 years after the building had been paid for, which is a longer time span than the viability of the Parliament building that David Steele helped to condone, yeah, from the Lib Dems too. The Tory crimes are massive. Yeah, but they will not let me see anything but Madonna and the censored bits, yet that only play the music, and they will not even show you the body double pictures for George W. Bush on the beach, sharing the Shell joke that you saw in the opening scenes about the Shell companies that defraud everything. Yeah, and that is the defrauding of our local council with the total condonement of its leader, because he's a profiteer. His businesses are registered in Glasgow, yeah, all over the world. Yeah, he is a massive profiteer. He has millions at the bank in those things, and the council pretends that it is in a massive toxic depot. And the 80-page document that is described in this video, where all of the crimes of Tracy Logan and Hatton are revealed, yeah, and the previous boss Parker, yeah, who had to resign because God has taken him down as a horrible cripple, and he may even be blind. Yeah, they are a totally treasonous cabal, and that's why we had the massive lightning storm last night. Okay, and they're diverting me with Kevin Leonard, who's the paedophilia victim in Hexham. Yeah, all of it is run by the Rotary Club, the Probus Club, the Capitalist. Oh, look, we've gotten to the chess game that is in only the first 2 minutes, and the slider has moved all the way across there, and all of the crimes of all of the people I'm describing in this new soundtrack are totally ignored. But they're acknowledging that we are just pawns in this vicious wealth divide project. Yeah, and the chess game that was mentioned between the visitors to the British Legion, where Alistair Hutton is the president, yeah, they're engaging German visitors to this region who now live in Leicester, which is part of the Longshanks crime scene and all of the false history stuff. That means when they dig up a supermarket there, they find the bones of an ancient English king, and it allows them to launch a profiteering museum, like all of the opportunities of the Time team to laugh at world history. And Madonna pretends that she's anguished about separating and letting the whole world lose its right to work and to have any democratic funding. Yeah, the power of goodbye. Yeah, if I mention the title of that, it may get this video closed down, which is not why I'm not going to make it too long. Okay, I'll try and move the slider forward so I can show you some of the corporate details that really alarm people. Yeah, like Hutton, he's a sad, sad person. A really sad, sad person. His affiliations to the Southern Reporter have been blown open. His affiliations to the judiciary, his affiliations to the corruption that means that the Queen Victoria scandal is a massive scandal. Yeah, that was explained in the video last night that has become the lightning video. Queen Victoria was raped and pillaged by the Rothschilds to sire all of the European monarchies, and that was done after her loyal marriage to blind King George of Cumbria, who's actually blind King George of Cumbria and Teviotdale. Yeah, that I learned yesterday, which is why we had the massive lightning storms last night. Absolutely massive, targeted at all of the towns that are complicit in that. That's Melrose and Porteous, yeah, run by the Connell family, with links to the Rothschilds and the Roseberries right into Naples and Monaco. And that has links into JP Morgan, George Soros, Michael Moore's empire of fraud, which he runs with George W. Bush from Dubai. John Robertson Wright, the billionaire in all of these stories, lives in the tiny town of Ednam, and all of the people that live in Scotland and are the power base here are prepared to sell their country again and again and again. Yeah, so is that enough for you to explain the banning of my video? We still have not got to the corporate details. Yeah, because this bit is only the first couple of minutes. Yeah, the images that show you Hutton and all the sad crimes that they commit against their people, and the doctors that try and have me sectioned. Yeah, Dr. Fingland, I will mention it again and again and again. The one that retired into the care home sector and gives the speeches at the Kelso Civic Week, where we shed tears for the war dead at Flodden, is Dr. Mooney. Yeah, and who else? Who else needs a mention? Yeah, all Jim Hume down the valley, Sally Magnuson, all of the crimes of BBC Scotland, all of the crimes of the British government, the Scottish government. Jim Hume has got horses all over his Facebook page. That is the Humes that started World War One in Sarajevo by killing the Archduke on the Hume Bridge for a laugh at the power of the philosophers from Britain. Okay, I'm going to stop there now, because this is a little snappy video to explain why all of the video that I made yesterday does not appear, and none of the people that were mentioned right from that part of the video have even begun to appear on this image, because YouTube are an intel tool for the Prime Ministers and the corrupted intel personnel, who now are the world's money launderers and the insurance brokers and the pension fund managers. And it is really sad that David Cameron and his people are compromised into a position like this, because the Rothschilds are a sick institution and they run it. They have a body double in Kelso, and I met him the other night and he offered me a beer. Yeah, it is tragic. The whole of democracy has been eroded by this massive cabal. Yeah, and that is where the lightning storms occurred last night. And you can see that even that cloud that is over their homes now has got a silver lining on it. Unless they kill me quickly, the whole of the news about Queen Victoria and the illegitimate monarchy for 163 years, they've already changed the laws of succession again, because they know that Prince Charlie and Princess Anne do not have enough royal blood in them. The others are bastard children of the royals in Europe. King Juan Carlos, for example, yeah, all of the abuses of Princess Diana are at the expense of the British Constitution. Yeah, she died at the hands of those vicious Germanic families that have run everything by deceit and killing. And both wars, the massive death tolls in both wars, are entirely due to the violence that funds those families through all great conflicts, all great revolutions. Yeah, and all of it, I'm extremely proud of my role in it, and it was quite inspiring to see last night that I have the gods on my side. Yeah, I'll show you now where I was pointing the camera at. So there's the Galashiels cabal. The Balfours are there on the Newton Dawn. That's the Garden of Nod, the land of Nod, the Garden of Eden. The river that runs through their estate is the fucking Eden for a laugh, because they think they're gods. Yeah, they were relatively immune from the lightning last night. Then we get across the river to the centre of town, where the Freemasons have been digging up the square. Yeah, the people that run the false finance companies that have come from America and Melrose and are part of that Montefiore empire with links to the Scots and to Lord Sanderson of Bowden, who laughs at the Hoyk joke. yeah, and the Teviot Valley song is the Walter Scott Freemasonic icon that they play. Look it up on the internet. It's about the false king that was planted at Albert the homosexual with the homosexual chain. They did not ban that video 2 days ago because I showed you the homosexual chain on Prince Albert's penis. They had him murdered as well. Yeah, everything is a crime, and the war crimes are particularly sad. And I have all the director numbers for Rifkind and the war criminals like Blair and his pseudonyms that he uses to steal from the business world. Yeah, Linton Blair. Yeah, also the incidents in the toilet, so Rebecca Brooks can cover it up in the national papers. Then we have my wife's new residence, which I'm not allowed to know, but my dad told me about it. Yeah, because my dad has been forced into the great conflicts to fight against ordinary working men in Korea for these batards. Yeah, my dad doesn't understand that. He's a simple man like me. He's an honest, upstanding man and is prepared to punch people on the chin if they are guilty of anything. He's now done that to me because of Miss Susan Windrum from the Prince's Trust and the Southern Reporter's coverage of my crimes as a divorcee in a case that is totally unjustified. And my wife lives right over there, which was the epicenter of the lightning strikes, or maybe just slightly further right, because that is where the doctor lives, right next door to former council leader Hutton, the boss at the Las Vegas military tattoo. And then you've got the working man is Ronnie McElrath, who works for Born Leisure, the Hemel Hempstead companies that my wife used to work for in the Rothschilds network. And all of it is about keeping the deceit of the world and the world's governments intact as they dismember me, my funding streams, my right to work, and the honesty that always comes from my mouth. Then you've got John Lamont's Coldstream Residencies. Yeah, you've got the Douglas Homes. You've got the people that now run the financial scams in the money lending sector that the fictitious Jesus warned us about. Yeah, in league with George Soros, Michael Moore, and those massive cabals that run out of Dubai, thanks to the Arab British Chamber of Commerce and John Robertson Wright again, who runs the Borders College, which is registered as a charity like the Ashridge College in Hertfordshire, where the people that fish with Born Leisure and the Butlins Company as covers for the crimes of Nuremberg. That's the Harris chair of the Nuremberg inquest, which is a joke about the Aryan legends that rule the world for all of biological time. Yeah, that's the Harris joke. Okay, and then you've got further down the river Allenbeath, Berwick, and then to the right you've got the town of Sprouston. Yeah, where the Bairds, who are the Lord Lieutenants, are married to the innocent little family that used to be my English teacher, that is the Welshes. Yeah, and the Welshes are mentioned yeah, because they are in my favourite film, and the school teacher that is the Welsh that James Stewart punches on the chin, the Welshes and the people that are my relatives that are the profiteers in the Church of Scotland are married into massive financial dynasties like the Kemps, the Welshes, and the John Robertson Wrights of Ednam, which is a joke about war crimes in the Old Testament. All of it written by humans for geopolitical manipulation. Right then, so let's see. Oh, we're still on Madonna on the video. Yeah, we're still on Madonna at 10 minutes and 54 seconds into the video. Yeah, the images of all of the crimes of Alistair Hutton at the Las Vegas military tattoo, all of the asset stripping by Dr. Fingland of the medical sector that he works in and is so proud of. Yeah, watch the Thunder and Lightning video and you'll get the picture how YouTube are slaves. So the title for the video is Free Press and Council Scams, Economics and Jobs Collapse, Director IDs and the Impoverished Kids, Grossart Inc. Yeah, because Grossart is the man that asset strips the councils. Yeah, and the company that does that, because they've crashed my computer a couple of times since last night, is called, let's get this up and I can show you that. Let's do this. I'm going to show you what I covered in that video and what they're so ashamed of. Oh no, it's crashed Windows Media Player now. Can you see that in the background? Windows Media Player has now crashed. Right then. So, history. Do you know how to use Google properly? History. Yeah? What did they crash last night? And what sites was I reading? The crimes of the Borders councillors, the councillors in Glasgow, the councillors all over Perth, all over Quisling, Scotland, that is totally dedicated to selling itself to the elites from south of the border. Yeah? And no matter how classy you are as a doctor and a carer for our people, you're still prepared to take the little bung to desert the cause of innocence and freedom. It is really sad. I like Ian Fingland. I used to admire him. He used to dedicate all of his time to training in his sector, and in that basis he could not dedicate any of his time to having fun and leisure as a fisherman. I offered to help him with that, like I offered to help Violet Bolton's husband, the profiteer in the banking sector, and the man that I helped coach died of a horrible cancer recently because he tried to make me more professional in running the amateur fishing club, who can no longer now afford to go on trips to even Edinburgh or Loch Fitty, where there is a massive oil and gas fracking scam occurring there. Queen Victoria's funeral, that's what I've posted on YouTube this morning, to let them know that the fraud about the illegitimacy takes you into Hawick and Ireland, because that is where blind Prince George of Cumbria is in charge of Teviotdale, yeah, and that becomes the Wilton green colours for the German uniforms in World War II, because blind Prince George is from Hanover, and Hanover is right next door to Göttingen, which is immune from bombing in World War II. Yeah, and it's right on the road, the yellow brick road, to Potsdam and Poland, and the death camps and the birthplace for Hitler and Jesus at Innsbruck, and no room at the inn, is en route slightly further to the south, closer to that Alpine joke that is the Detweiler MacDonald joke about the Austrian Navy in that landlocked country. Right then, and what you've got further down is, oh, here we go, Johnson Press PLC. Let me just give you some of this, because I did not get any of it into the video that I made last night about the massive lightning strikes that the God loosed on our region and all of the culprits in this story. Okay, so I'm trying to open up the Johnson Press. So Johnson Press runs massive companies, and what they've done in the last 3 years since 2011 is to reduce the workforce to half of what it was in 2011. That's 6,000 people working for Ashley Highfield's company, and guess where they're registered? Orchard Bray House, as part of the Apple original sin joke, 30 Queensferry Road. That's the fascists that run the House of Shaws, that run the jokes about Robert Louis Stevenson and globalisation, sailing from there, and that's the launch of Treasure Islands. Yeah, and the other companies that spin off from this. Let's take you first to the bottom and show you. Oh no, so we need to look at Highfield's Interlocks. Okay, I hope the sound quality is better than the original video, because it was not good, but they're totally ashamed of that. You can see that this is still locked on Madonna. Yeah, the rest of it is about corporate details. So this is Ashley Gilroy, Mark Highfield, 2 Cavendish Square, London, director number 91644 0044. Okay, and he has got all those companies lined up. He works at floor 2, year of birth 1965. Believe that if you like. They keep switching their director IDs, like Miss Tom, my wife's solicitor, who's in the scams on the care homes, who's in the scams on the Citizens Advice Bureau, and who was switched to from Alistair Hankton's council into the divorce sector the year I came back, when we were still paying for the mortgage on the house that I totally owned. Yeah, the mortgage payments have been less than £60 for each of the 2 participating companies for all of my time in that mortgage. Yeah, as soon as we get ownership of my home, and as soon as I've paid all of that off with my 6-figure salaries, my wife deserts my bedroom. Yeah, and that's when I'm becoming a fraud researcher. So let's read some. Anglia Newspapers Limited, Lincolnshire Standard Group Limited, dozens and dozens of them. Regional Independent Media Pension Trustee Limited. Yeah, this is Ashley Gilroy Mark. I forget with Ashley Highfield. Yeah, registered in London. It's got 2 billion as his current asset value, and 2 billion as 2.3 billion as his current liabilities. Can you see the magnitude of it? His company, the PLC company, when you look that up, they declare that they're 360 million in debt. Okay, that's the parent company that we started with. I should have showed you that. Okay, let me now take you to how many people they have working for them. Oh no, we need to do that. So what you need to learn how to use Company Check if you're impoverished and you have lost your right to work. So click on Ashley Gilroy Mark Highfield's overlapping directors, and you'll find some big criminals like Sir David Murray, and you'll find that the companies that he works in have halved their workforce in 3 vicious years. And I know that the girls at the RBS and the HBOS group, that's the Bank of Scotland, are really worried about losing their jobs, and they're really worried about talking to me too, because that will mean that they lose their jobs quicker. Yeah, that's the RBS that lived in Winston Churchill's stately home at Eyemouth, yeah, after he had given it up. That's Ayton Castle. Yeah, and here's all of the links to this little sad bastard that is a friend of mine on LinkedIn. Yeah, Anglia Newspapers Limited, massive numbers of them crashed, run by David John King, which just happens to be the name of the man who's the boss at the Bank of England. Yeah, and interlocks all the time with the Rothschilds, because they're allowed to do that, because there is no law enforcement anywhere in the world. Lincolnshire Standard Group Limited, Regional Independent Media Pension Trustee Limited. Fraudsters, 92, run by David King, crashed of his total of 122. That's where your pensions have gone, folks. Then there's massive links to the massive, there's the one that is the Italian mafia, Mr. Marco Luigi Ottimio Chiapelli, which is a joke about religion. That's the Chapel joke, which is a joke about the Chapel brothers who played cricket for Australia, who now every time you open one of these sites are citing about the importance of the ashes, which are the ashes of the war dead in every engineered conflict that these people engineer. Regional Independent Media, the Derry Journal Limited, that's the sectarian island. Blind King George of Cumbria and Teviotdale also had massive holdings in Ireland. That's the World War II joke, and why the German forces fight in Wilton Green, like the Hoyk Wilton Bowling Club, and all of the crimes of the Walter Scott Society, who know all of this and are likely to coerce the royal family, because they know that all of Queen Victoria's children is illegitimate, which is why they're prepared to crash all of their weaving and textiles companies, and they make their money now out of virtual products frauds. Right then, I'd better keep the camera back because the soundtrack. Okay, let me find David Murray and we'll stop there. Yeah, I'm going to make little snappy videos on the crimes of England, the interlocking police people who interlock to the London Met Police, and they dismember our world and they crashed the banks, which is why I'm particularly sad that that little video, which we can no longer see, let's see, oh, it's still Madonna. Yeah, and look where we've scanned to. Yeah, there is no revelations about all of this. The footage of the music was less than 3 minutes. Yeah, Lady Gaga's paparazzi joke about the freedom of the press, yeah, and what Ashley Highfield does to it, and Madonna's chess game with George W. Bush walking the beach with the sandals joke about Jason and his Odyssey, portrayed so all of the simple people can be fooled and gulled into thinking that George W. Bush is a nice guy who's involved in the fleecing of the whole world. Right? Yeah? So, and there it is. That's free press and council scams totally blocked by the government because of the revelations that are making it, and it's only local government crimes. There are no really big national scams except the international ones run by David Murray, who is further down the list that we're looking at now. Yorkshire regional newspapers. The lightning storms were occurring in Yetton, where Simon Mountford, the local councillor, used to be the boss at the Yorkshire Post. He's the only one I can contact in the council now, because he's an entrepreneur and he runs his business from Yetton. Yeah, he's looking ever so old now and ever so decrepit, because everybody that steals from their country and kills their children as ruthless profiteers, yeah, and demonizes Islam, God is aware of everything they do, which is why we had the massive lightning storm that went into all of the crime scenes of the Douglas homes, yeah, John Lamont, all of the places where they sell the dead man's boots, and they grieve for the flood and war dead that they actually had killed when there was a legitimate monarch on the throne, but they all work on the same side, and all of the Scottish treason is accurately portrayed in the Braveheart movie. Yeah, so Yorkshire regional newspapers, that's Councillor Simon Mountford from Yorkshire, yeah, elected in this town. Yeah, with the Conservative former Labour man Tom Weatherston, yeah, and Alec Nichol, whose house is right in the middle of the lightning strikes last night. He's the one that appointed Tracy Logan, who used to work for BAE Systems Limited, the munitions magnates. She doubled her salary and she got the job. The rest of her employees all across the public sector have had their pay frozen for 7 years back to back, and still I started shaming them 3 or 4 years ago when my wife initiated the departure from my bedroom to try and get me silenced back into being the lapdog that gets access to her sexual favours. It's as trivial as that, and I'm going to bring them all down as pimps and prostitutes for the loss of freedom in our country, since Queen Victoria was abused by the Rothschilds in her bedroom using Rohypnol, the date rape drug that Sheriff Lothian uses to cover up the crimes of the Law Society in Scotland now. Yorkshire Regional Newspapers Limited. Oh, Mint Hill Limited. I'm going to have to scan. Oh, Portsmouth. Yeah, that's where, right next door to the Isle of Wight, where Queen Victoria made love to blind Prince George of Cumbria when he was 14 and she was 12. That was legal then. That's the only legitimate marriage that she was ever in, and the child of that was Marcos Manuel, who's the only legitimate successor to the previous king. I think it was a Prince William or King William somebody, who was the predecessor, and there's nobody to take her place until Queen Victoria marries that man, yeah, because he is a legitimate German prince, but he's the fifth of the 5 brothers yeah, who live in that massive place that is right next door to Göttingen, which is immune from bombing, because all of the German chancellors get educated there, and the rocket scientists and the nuclear physicists are either from that town or from Heidelberg. Yeah, that's the Heidi joke. Yeah, all of the myths are jokes at the expense of the citizens. So there you've got Clifford Chance secretaries. They're one of the big 5 magic circle law firms, yeah, and there we've got interlocked with them as a secretary is Mr. David James Murray. So Portsmouth is right next door to the Isle of Wight, where Queen Victoria reared blind King Prince George of Cumberland and Teviotdale's child Marcus Manuel until he was big enough to go to Gosport, just across and the Portsmouth Football Club scandals involving all of the media scandals are a total cover-up for my exposures and Greg Hallett's exposures of the illegitimate monarchy's illegitimacy for 163 years, which is why they changed the laws of succession in 2012, and why all of my videos on decency and the loss of everything that government and local government used to get for free, it's a total scandal. And Mr. Ashley Gilroy Mark Highfield is a traitor to his readers, which is why Susan Windrum has screwed off. Yeah, she now runs a girly magazine. She was the head of the Southern Reporter when I detected her linkage to Prince Charles and the massive pay rises that that man gets to be a puppet figure, yeah, and to be a joker at the public's expense. He kills his wife. He gets her raped and married raped by people like King Juan Carlos. So all of the legitimate claimants have got some royal blood in them. They're bastard children, like all of Queen Victoria's except the first one, born right opposite Portsmouth. And Harry Redknapp is the cover for that. Yeah, the man who has several heart attacks, because all of them who are prepared to cheat and deceive the world's sporting fans even. Yeah, that's the chapels that laugh at the Ashes joke that is the New Zealand war dead, and Mr. Bean in the 2012 Olympic ceremony is the joke about the Anzac war dead at Gallipoli, because Mr. Bean was the war correspondent for that place. Yeah, can you see why the videos are shut down? And we could have another look for where we are on the scanning and playing. No, that's the tab. Oh, we're still on Madonna's Wilton green dress, the Hawick rugby team colours, the German forces colours, and the Irish colours because of the links to County Antrim. And I forgot to mention in the lightning video about the Duns woman who's the GP that gives the sermon as a laugh about the hot cross buns on Easter Sunday and the death of the world's greatest God, Jesus Christ. It's a fraud. Yeah, I'm going to try now to take the slider to these boardrooms. So I've just clicked, oh, it's moved, and we stay on Madonna's Wilton green dress. Yeah, the army colour for the Germans, and Hitler was trained at Tavistock. Yeah, Stalin was trained there. They had the London Sydney Street siege near Tottenham Hotspur to cover up the crimes of the training of all of the genocidal leaders in World War II. And that's why I'm being persecuted now by the people that work for the Rothschilds and the people that work for Intel, that even in World War II were hard at work for the Flemings, Uncle Desmond Morton, and that becomes the Mortons and the Brodie solicitors, and John Lamont is the advisors to the Scottish Government on law enforcement, and he works also for those big 5 yeah, magic law firms that are linked indirectly to the Dresdner Bank that was Hitler's bank. Yeah, so we're nearly halfway through the video that only had 2 to 3 minutes of pop music on it, and we've still got Madonna's blue dress, because it's crashed my computer again. They will do everything they can. Let me take you to the places where I was only talking about local council and Scottish government and Scottish funding streams for local council, because that's a joke. They're in a massive toxic debt pool, which is a whole layer after layer after layer of toxic debt. Yeah, nobody can pay that off. No one can account for themselves, which is why the big four corrupted auditors get to tell the stories and the lies in the 80-page corporate document that is their financial statements and their audit that I was publishing and citing all through the video. Yeah, we've still got Madonna's Wilton green dress, so let's go to 2/3 of the way through. That's 66, the number of chapters in the Christian Bible that all of them think is really funny. Yeah, free press and council scams, economic and jobs collapse, director IDs and the impoverished kids, Grossart Inc. He interlocks with David Murray and the scam. That's Sir David Murray, the legless bastard that has been the victim of several acts of God already, but he still keeps stealing from his country. He runs the golf course opposite the Borders Council where the donkeys neigh in the field. That's the cock neighing joke, and the cock is the joke about St. Peter and the cock crowing 3 times. Yeah, because Jesus never lived, nor did St. Peter. Grossart lives in luxury with John Robertson Wright and all of the financial criminals that are stealing from all of our government institutions. All of the treasuries all around the world are in private hands. The banks that issue the money, there are 13 of them in America. Yeah, 13 central banks issuing the money only to George W. Bush and his friends who are prepared to joke about their odyssey to take over the globalised world, using minor characters in the Rotary Club in my wife's family. Yeah, that's our dad, Ted. Part of the jokes, the TED Debating Society, is about taking the world into that last step into civilization. It's a joke about Teddy Roosevelt, like the joke about Teddy in Andy Pandy's pram, yeah, throwing his toys out of the cot as we begin to think about why we went to war in the Pearl Harbor joke. Yeah, and all of it is covered up at huge expense by the world medias. Okay, so we cannot go 2/3 of the way through that video because my computer has collapsed. Can you see the little icon that I'm going to have to wait a little bit to expose any more facts? So let's close it down until it uploads. Yeah, I'm making the same mistake of making a very long video on the same themes, but it will dovetail nicely with the thunder and lightning video that I made last night at 2 AM. Yeah, because the gods are really angry that the world is run this way, and every great conflict is engineered by bedroom scams like the ones that they're still covering up in Hawick and in the Walter Scott Foundation. Sad, sad elderly bastards that end up in the House of Lords and kill all of the youngsters that end up in the British uniforms. I think they're, I'm not sure what the hue of the British military uniform is. In the RAF it's kind of blue, like the writing that was invented in Canaan. Yeah, right then, I think I'll stop there now, and you can watch the lightning video this evening because it's much shorter than this one and it will not lose your attention. It's sad though that I've not been able to find David Murray on this list, which is where I got to just as the batteries failed on the banned video. Let's see if we can find him. Okay, Yeller Publications Limited, David John King, Mark Ashley Highfield, and we've got all the corrupted law firms. Yeah, hugely corrupted. DLA Secretarial Services, 1300 crashed out of 1500. Halifax Courier Holdings Limited, the bank, the Halifax Bank, still massive ads. They've totally defrauded their customers. the Chiopali Italian crime scene, 4 Counties Newspapers Limited. Remember, Johnson Press are responsible for news release from the Hebrides right down to Portsmouth, where the massive monarchy fraud was perpetrated. And Peter Sellers plays Marcos Manuel in the movie Being There. Because Peter Sellers is the son of Lord Mountbatten, who was killed by the IRA, and it is a continuing story about deceit and killing and familicide, so you can stay the owners of the corrupted world. I'm not going to condone that. I'm coming at it with both of my eyes and my ears wide open. Century Press and Publishing Limited. Oh, there's Montgomery's on this one. That's Radio 4, and the Dukes of Buccleuch, also legless in their wheelchairs for large parts of their lives. TM Directors Limited, Peterborough Web Limited. Let's get to Murray and then we'll sign off. Lincolnshire Newspapers Limited, McCall, spelt differently to the Rothschild interlocks, and the Rosebery jokes. Yeah, and that takes you right into continental Europe. North Notts Newspapers, that's the Know Nothings from the other green place that is Lincoln Green and Sherwood Forest. Can you see the affiliations? Can you see the jokes about Dad's army? And who do you think you are kidding, Mr. Hitler, that you are one of our enemies? You are one of our profiteering trainees, like Stalin, and you're trained to kill and commit genocide against your own nation. It's ever so clever, and it's ever so profitable for all of human history. The clouds are beginning to gather across at the other side of the town again, and those little spiky looking bits that project down from them are where the lightning is launched from. Mr. Grant Murray again. I cannot find Sir David. The Italian mafia is in almost every one of these directors, which is why they crash almost every one of his companies. He worked for them, Marco Luigi Ottimio Schiappelli, from 1991 to 2001. That's 10 bloody years of money laundering. Yeah, and all of the brutalisation of Iraq has yet to happen, so that they can do the World War III number by demonising Islam. I will not let them do that. Yeah, there's Harrison's on the list. Bedfordshire Newspapers, also immune from bombing. Bedfordshire, yeah, that's where Free France went, yeah, in World War II, immune from bombing. Like Oxford and Cambridge. Toby Andrew Murray Steele, yeah, all the inbreeding continues apace. Northamptonshire Newspapers Limited, yeah. We're looking at the wrong listing, because what I should be looking at to find David Murray is the links to the asset stripping of the councils, and that is done. Oh, Johnston Press Bond PLC. Yeah, the links to the bonds and the Flemings are massive, but none of them have the courage to be associated with that. What I was looking for is the links to the man. If we look on the history again, we might be able to find him, because what I was looking for was the man called Grossart, who's the boss at the companies that run the asset stripping of the councils. Let's find him quickly. History. I don't know what the soundtrack's like on this. Yeah. Here we go. Angus MacFarlane MacLeod Grossart, Scottish Futures Trust Investments Limited. That is where the funds of all of the councils are manipulated in the massive toxic debt pool, linked into the auditors who just cover up their sins, tell them to go on and extend the massive debt pool, so that none of democracy's activities or the salaries of the slaves in the system, that's doctors, nurses, teachers, school teachers, creche runners, yet none of the creches still belong to the public sector. All of it's privatised, like the care homes. All of them within one generation used to belong to the public, like all of the council houses. All of that has been seen through by Miss Tom and Alistair Hutton since the dinner ladies at the school became private employees. They no longer work for the council. Yeah, that's my next door neighbour in Inch Gardens. Yeah, that happened decades back when Kenny Evans was the boss. Yeah, a relative of mine was the boss at the St Bosel's crime scene, which is still a crime scene, carefully covered up now by people like Angus MacFarlane, MacLeod Grossart, Scottish Futures Trust. He runs that. Yeah, let's see what else he runs. It'll take a little bit of time, like everything, when they are beginning to sweat like pigs. Yeah, because the pig word has the pie story in it, and the pie is the joke about the Pisos who defrauded religion for all of human history and actually wrote the Quran, which is why the demonization of Islam is such a tragedy. And the acts of God that occur in that sector are massive too. Yet every time you have a genocide, you get eruptions and earthquakes in the participant place. Yeah, it's taken ages. Can you see the little cycling thing? Taken ages to open that page. This is the interlock between Sir David Murray, the Rangers thief, with all his crimes run out of Dunedin in the South Pacific for tax evasion reasons. His tax bill, when he avoided it, and they closed the case. Yeah, that was the Aberdeen companies that run the local councils that he funds, in inverted commas. He sucks every residual fund out of it, and now the Ponzi schemes and the pyramid selling scheme is so worthless that they have to resort to World War III again. That's the global sovereign debt crisis, which is totally premeditated by all of these sad batards. Yeah, not Queen Victoria. She lives a life of persecution because all of her children are sired by the Rothschilds. That's rape induced with Rohypnol, yeah, the date rape drug, and that is in the Queen's royal bedchamber so that they can run the world and run the toxic debt pools and run every government into insolvency. The German government was particularly badly afflicted by that because in World War I and in World War II they are the hosts to the conflict. It never gets across the Channel Coast thanks to the Dad's Army joke, and the Dad's Army people are all massive directors in the HSBC and Hunkers and Shonkers banking empire, which is why they are kidding that Mr. Hitler was their enemy. Right then, if we click on directors, we get his interlocks, and I'll take you down. Oh, sorry, I should have shown you before we left Ashley Highfield that he's reduced the workforce in his empire of local newspapers from 6,000 to 3,000 in 3 years since 2011. That's grossly out of date, but a lot of the facts that they release are totally twisted. Yeah, and his company has a 360 million debt pool. That is not the stuff that has been lumped into the Lloyd's toxic debt pool. It's a massive set of crimes against the people. Okay, registered in Queen Street for a laugh. EH2, that's the corrupted city of Edinburgh, right on the Royal Mile, I've no doubt. Majors Place Industries Limited. Let's go down to the companies that he runs at the bottom. It's more revealing that way. Here we go. Right then. This is the people that are saving the local councils and are extending their toxic debt pool. And they've got steady the number of employees that they have. Yeah, the innocents that work for the papers, yeah, the people that try and tell the truth, are already sacked. Majors Place Industries, 80 employees. Scotland International Limited, appointed and active. Yeah, Scotland International, ever so posh, 1998. Scottish Futures Trusts Investment Limited, the directors for the Borders Council, because every one of their directors, so that no one can be pinned or associated with these crimes, are corporate entities like the Scottish Futures Trust Investments Limited, run out of Aberdeen and run out of Queensferry. Scottish Futures Trust, oh, they have assets stripped a little bit. In 2010 they only had Zippo employees, they now have 51. So if you're a fraudster in the asset stripping of society, you get more employees. Yeah, there is no product, they're in a toxic debt pool, democracy has no funding, all of our rubbish bin collections have been closed for lack of funds, and they've been privatised. And Fine Arts Society Public Limited Company, the Edinburgh International Culture Summit 2014, yeah, they have no employees. Falls Property Limited, yeah, that's the massive crimes of the man called McKinnon, registered in Kelso, registered under the name of St Boswell's, yeah, and he runs the Miller housing scams and the massive infrastructure projects. Edinburgh Partners Limited, Ron Partners Limited, Charlotte Street Partners, none of those have any employees either. Culture and Sport, Glasgow, the city of culture, 2,200 people talking it up, yeah, where they run the Chamber of Commerce for the Scottish Borders, and the links to Michael Moore and his assassination bureaus through the Crawl Assassination Bureau. Culture and Sport Glasgow, yeah, they've only got 40 to 50 employees. Stays Right Health Group Limited, 400 employees, all ever so active in the asset stripping of the NHS. Friends of the Royal Scottish Academy Limited, they've only got 2. They're ever so posh, and they put their little fingers out when they have a laugh at the Walter Scott Club about defrauding the country, and them knowing about who Queen Victoria's legitimate children actually are, and how that bloodline was sent back to America, to Germany, just in time to be defamed in World War One. Yeah, and then they get stripped of all of their legitimacy, and they're not entitled to anything. But the Germans who run the British crime scene are entitled to everything that they used to be entitled to. It's ever so clever. And they're direct relatives of Mad King George the Third in the Hollywood film Murray International Holdings Limited. He's reduced his employees from 3,800 when they crashed the banks in 2008 to 1,000 people in 2013. Does not give you statistics since they changed the laws of succession in 2012. Ipsum Biopharma Limited, Scottish financial enterprise run by Sir Ewan Brown, yeah, who is the fraudster now at the Queen's Babies Institution and Alistair Moffat's fraud at St Andrews University that used to be run by Butcher Haig. The Edinburgh International Film Festival Limited, McDonald McDougall's Marketing PLC. Can you see it? It's a total stitch up, and if we click on the Murray ones, you'll see that that is the legless Sir David Murray. Yeah, and he is listed as a director, and he's international because he runs Aberdeen Asset Management, or is run by them, and his holdings are in George Square. Net worth minus 225 million. 127 million assets. All of the assets are in Dunedin. It's tragic. He's registered by Deloitte's LLP because it's a toxic fucking debt pool. Lomond House, 9 George Square, where they assassinated and intimidated the returning troops in World War One with tanks from the south. That's Robert Peel, Walter Scott that organises that, and all of it is a tragedy. All they're trying to do in that campaign as union members in Glasgow is reduce the working hours from 55 hours to 35 hours so that they can double the number of jobs created, but instead they threaten them with tank commanders from Robert Peel's Peelers in the south. And in the Napoleonic Wars they execute 88 people because the number 8 is just a joke about the continuation of fascism all over the globe. Right, I'm going to stop now, so I stop in time. Okay, let me see which of the directors the Murrays are. Murray International is run by 2 directors. Isn't that prudent of them and streamlined? Oh, it's ever so reluctant to let me scroll. Mr. David William Murray Horn, Mr. Michael Scott McGill, Sir David Edward Murray, the legless batard in the wheelchair with the golf course opposite the Scottish Borders Council and the donkeys in the field adjacent to that, which is the joke about Jesus and all of the war dead from England that is laughed at even in the Pinocchio films. Yeah, it is tragic. And they've got the corrupted secretaries. I wish I had given you a little bit more insight into the corrupted law firms like Turk and Connell that were in the banned video, because that's the Law Society of Scotland. Every one of their companies is a money launderer. Yeah, every one of them have refused to engage me as divorce solicitors. Thank you to Ross Dow for telling me that when I was criminally convicted that all I was doing was chatting up the girlfriend of an ambulance driver. Yeah, and the ambulance people arrived on my crime scene and convicted me. Yeah, fined me as an activist to expose all of the crimes and all of their pay freeze in the ambulance service for 7 years back to back, except at the top of the food chain. Yeah, there he is, Sir Angus MacFarlane MacLeod Grossart, running the asset stripping of the councils. And I'll show you now how the council is run by those institutions. They've got loads of corporate closures on the corporate business register for the council, and I think we'll stop there. Yeah, and what we've not done is to cover the crimes of Councillor Alistair Hutton, the Las Vegas military tattoo, the boss at the British Legion, and the epicentre for last night's lightning storm, right next door to his neighbour Dr. Ian Fingland, who tried to have me sectioned. Yeah, and right next door and opposite the tiny little house that my wife has to pay £600 a month in, when our mortgages under my governance never exceeded £120, because it was split up into an endowment scam that now the endowments, when you pay off your 30 years as a mortgage holder, there is no house. You have to give it back to the money lenders, and that is the extent to which they're prepared to go to steal from our country. And they've got a David George Wood, the Christianity joke, and the boss at Ineos. Ineos means Jesus, and it's on the top of the Christian cross, and it's the Innes symbol in Kelso Square. And Innes Kerr is the man that owns the vast castle. He's the most innocent person in this story. Mr. David George Wood has a thin blue line. Yeah, he has no period of service. That's because he's a money launderer. And Miss Sarah Tahir is a massive criminal in the laundering sector. Gordon Bowden and I talk about her frequently. Okay, I'm going to stop now, and I'm not going to play any music, so I cannot have this video banned. Yeah, and my only regret is that I did not show you Ashley Field's massive criminal job losses, but I've told you about the people that are now elected to our councils, and our local mayor now, our local provost, is also a Yorkshireman. He's limping really, really badly because they're prepared to condone these frauds, and all of the kids are now paying fees of £60,000 for everything that they got for free. And Rangers have been defrauded twice, but the directors and the stockholders and the massively well-funded people that buy the shares and are gifted the shares by David Murray in the massive scandals that are put into the hands of the accountants in Aberdeen, where all of the corrupted Scottish Borders Council directorial people are, because they're institutions, like the stuff that is run by Sir Angus MacFarlane MacLeod Grossart. And the links to the sainted people that have been sainted in Balmoral, it takes you back to the Prince's Trust, which is why Susan Windram and the Southern Reporter have been chased out of this and are now pursuing sex criminals like people that are mysteriously involved in Kelso now. They fearmonger all of the time. They have no conscience. The gods will bring them down, and the storms last night are just the beginning of what they do until they get back on side. It's not a lovely day yet. The gods have still to make up their mind. When I get this video published, the sun will come out, and all of the pictures of all of the culprits, Dr. Fingland, there are no holds barred now, unless you start getting on side, and unless the people like Dr. Moody, who run the corrupted things and are able to retire in their very young lives, and their friends have a laugh at me when I go to Mrs. Knox's funeral, where Mrs. Knox was buried in a cardboard coffin, because it's right in front of the massive mansion that is run by the Duke of Haddington, and they're all in the same cabal. And the Hundy-Mundy castle that is behind the place where they get buried in the cardboard boxes is a joke about the Hundy Mundial globalization project, and it's just a front, like the front on the Christian church, which is just a front for the illegitimacy of Jesus Christ, which is why the cock crows 3 times and they laugh at that in the Coldplay song. Coldplay are massive fraudsters. They know all about the world's ancient history. They got first-class degrees for nothing at University College London, and they condone now the theft of £60,000 from every English university. Right then, bye bye, have a nice day. And if you live in any of those homes that were struck by the lightning last night, then you know that you need to change your ways. I forgot to mention that my best man was hit by lightning. That's Gavin Brown, who works on the junction pool, and his dad was badly burned in the RAF in World War II, and that is the Raphael Air Force joke. But he is a genuine victim of all of that, and all of the slaves in the ordinary working men McElrath sector that are mentioned in the lightning video, all they need to do is talk to me, and the whole of them can have the ownership of our country back, and all of the frauds that are run by the elites, like him, out of Balmoral, and all of the horrible things that happened to Queen Victoria and Sheriff Peter Lothian's wife, Andrew Lothian's wife, in the cover-ups for the illegitimacy of the democracies and the massive stealing of their finance by the central bankers like Mervyn King, and now the Canadian in league with Miss Tom on my case on the asset stripping of the Bank of England. And Dave Prentice, the union boss, is also on the court of the Bank of England, and David Lees was on it because I'm exposing all of those frauds, but he's had to resign because he's got ailments. Like Lord Patton has had to resign because he's had a fatal heart attack, or he's been sent to the Havens in the safe zone with the man that killed his maid, Lord Lucan. Bye bye.